Okay, welcome back. Josh Anton here, public adjuster and host of the Growth Strategist podcast, where I share insights on business growth and spotlight industry leaders shaping the future of roofing and restoration. Today, I'm joined by Mark Elder, owner of Allside Roofing and Restoration out of Dayton, Ohio. Mark brings over 23 years of leadership and renovation experience to the roofing industry, and as a lifelong Southwest Ohio resident, he's committed to raising the standard for roofing by delivering skilled, honest work on every job. Mark, thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Josh.
23 years of leadership experience before getting into roofing. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and so that's not all in obviously in roofing, and as a matter of fact, a bit limited on the specifics of just roofing and siding, which is we're a roofing, siding, gutter company, home exteriors. But leadership, I have a little bit of a different background. I was a college football coach for a number of years, for a couple decades, and so have gotten into this world over the last couple of years, and leading a company, similar things to leading a football team, but different, obviously, with some age groups and what you're trying to do and so forth. But the leading of an organization, I do think that there's a ton of transfer from, if somebody's running a roofing company, could they go run an HVAC and so forth, or same for, coaching. If you're in coaching and you're leading an organization, could you go lead another organization and motivate the individuals around you and get the best out of them and provide the proper service. That's, I think, the traits of leadership and leading an organization that are most important.
I definitely share I share that perspective with you. My previous profession, I ran kitchens as a chef for over a good part of a decade before I got into the public adjusting business. So leading a team is, you have to have a very particular mindset to be able to do that. And I think overall, having that mindset and executing it and being successful at it can help you down the road in all ways of life.
Absolutely. No, I think that leadership is a skill set that can, just like anything. Like, somebody might be born to be a little bit faster, but can you improve your speed? Yes, of course you can. I think leadership's a similar quality where some people might be born with some traits that are make it easier for them initially, but generally speaking, is something that you can get better at, and it's a skill that you can foster and grow. And again, regardless of what the situation is, as far as what your ultimate mission is and what you're trying to accomplish, but the attributes of trying to lead a group and get the most out of the people around you, sometimes it's pushing and prodding, and sometimes it's encouragement and so forth, and navigating those situations and knowing when the right time to push a little bit and when the right time to support and encourage, and those things that's the art of leadership that I think that we all get better at the more that we're able to do it, and mistakes that you make, and obviously the best way to learn is to learn from somebody else's mistake, but the ones that typically hit home and are most memorable are the mistakes that you made, and learning from them yourself.
100%. You only prevail and learn life lessons by messing up a little bit. I mean, nobody's just going to hand you the knowledge, right?
It sure would be nice. Typically how it works. Yeah, you grow through pain, and the pain of learning a hard lesson is obviously more memorable than if it's just a clean, easy path for yourself. So, yes, I've certainly had my fair share of whether it be here in roofing or whether it be in previous endeavors of learning hard lessons, and the ones that stick the most are the ones that that typically hurt the most. But you also gain a ton from that, and try your best not to make those same mistakes more than once. Generally speaking, the couple negatives are the ones that get talked about a bunch. I've had mostly good experiences, but I've certainly had a handful of negative ones. And I wanted to make sure that our company was going to be one that was with all reasonable individuals that we're dealing with, was going to be ones that we could proudly say we did the work for and proudly say, did a fantastic job for them. And so that's really what, just to be as transparent, upfront, great with our communication, easy to get in touch with, answering questions, not speaking over someone's head. I've had that happen a bunch where people are, they're talking about the nuances of something that I barely know the surface level knowledge of. And they're talking over my head. I'm like, hey man, just talk to me like I need this explained to me like a fifth grader, because that might be where the capacity is for me, and put it in a layman's terms for me. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be a very honest, upfront group, provide great service, great communication, outstanding craftsmanship at a affordable price. We're certainly not going to be the lowest price, but we're not going to be the highest, and we want to provide great value in the service that we're providing.
You're definitely speaking in terms of your philosophy, the all side way that you guys promote communication, clarity, craftsmanship. I mean, that's awesome. How do you actually operationalize that, or what does communication look like at Allside that's different from other contractors?
Yes, absolutely. Regarding the communication, we want it to be from start to finish. I think that you'll see a lot of people that communicate really, really well, all the way up to receiving a paycheck on something, and then after they've gotten what they were looking for, the money, then are they still operating on this in the same capacity? Are the phone calls being returned as quickly? Are they explaining things as well after the fact as someone does before the fact? And I look at it very much like marriage. When you're dating and trying to persuade, I'm able to persuade my beautiful wife to spend the rest of our time together. Hopefully, she would be one to say that yes, although a bit more hectic now with 4 kids and all that type of stuff, is the same now that it was when we were on our first couple dates. And we want to have our communication be from start to finish as much and as extensive as is needed by the homeowner. It's not our needs, it's not our presentation that matters. It's the needs of the homeowner. And we want it to be from start to finish. And so if that homeowner is reaching out to us, our policy is that we're going to get back to them immediately, even if the answer is I don't have an answer for you right now. But we want that open channel of communication from start to finish to be there. And so we're going to be overly communicative as far as the response. If someone reaches out with questions, we want to make sure that we're getting back to them very timely, even if it's a tough, difficult conversation, or if it's something that we don't know. Hey, I'm not sure yet, but the unknown, the call with a voicemail and it not getting responded to, not okay. If someone's trusting us to put a new roof on, and that's a major investment, we need to make sure that we're communicating with them that there's no question that we're moving forward with whatever it is that they're inquiring about.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, think of it like in terms of treat people like you want to be treated. Obtain a company that provides a service and you have questions and you're wondering, let's just say you have to reschedule something and they don't respond. How frustrating is that to you? That would frustrate me if I can't get a hold of somebody.
That's right. Yeah. And especially if I handed over a check for $10,000 or something
Yeah.
like that, you're suddenly wondering where's my money going? Is this person going to get back to me? So even if the answer is I don't know, because shoot, I respect that. If I'm in communication with someone and hey, I have a question, and they respond and say I don't know, but I'm going to get back to you. I at least now know that I've been heard. They know that I'm asking this question. They don't have the answer to it. That's okay. But I know that they're looking into it. And then we're going to follow up in a timely manner with the answer or keep them updated as we're going. But there's nothing worse than I've handed over a large sum of money and I have a question, even if they're working on it, but if you don't know that they're working on it, like you're frustrated now, and now you're concerned. And so, yes, I think that's an important piece to make sure that we are communicating with the customer, and really on their terms. And Josh, I'm a huge believer in what you said as far as treat others the way that you want to be treated. But I actually recently heard our GAF rep Cam, because we're a GAF company, and typically that's what we're installing, and he put in he actually added something as far as um, not necessarily treat others how you want to be treated, but treat others how they want to be treated. And so part of that is I might want to be communicated with every 3 days, but this homeowner, it's like, hey, stop calling me so much. It's like they may want less frequent communication or
Right, right.
every day. So we're trying to gauge what it is that the customer wants, and therefore trying to meet their needs, not anybody else's.
That's definitely a great perspective. Let's talk about the Ohio market right now, industry trends. What kind of shifts are you seeing in roofing right now, whether it's, in Southwest Ohio or just industry wide?
Yes, and I may not be the best one to talk industry wide, but what I'm feeling here in Southwest Ohio, I feel like currently, well, there's over the past year, prices have gone up. A lot of the materials that are used on a roof or for siding, a lot of those materials, even if the manufacturer is US based, they're still importing some of the material that's making their shingles from other areas. And obviously, if you haven't been living under a rock, you know that there's been some tariffs and some things that have caused some increases in prices. And I would say that increase in price, along with things like inflation and the fact that this is not something that you do on a yearly basis, there's been some sticker shock moments for some of our customers, because maybe the last time they replaced their roof was in 2002. And it was quite a bit less back in 2002 than what it is now. Or even if they were looking into this 3 4 years ago, shoot, that price has gone up dramatically. So I think that there's been some sticker shock with some homeowners. I think that there's a bit of economic uncertainty at the time. It seems like people are tightening their belts just a little bit, and so some of those things have added some difficulty to individuals that have a need, but suddenly this is a bigger price tag than what they've run into. And so, those are underlying issues that I think that probably do fit nationwide, but I know that we're feeling that here in our local area, with this being a pretty big, if you're replacing a roof, it's an expensive project. I mean, it's not a small little project. I mean, this is costing, tens of thousands of dollars to do so. And so we've seen an uptick in people looking into financing and financing options and things along those lines, and being creative in how they're going to pay for the need.
Excellent. Let's talk insurance claims for a minute. On my public adjusting side of carriers, they get tighter every year, more exclusions, cosmetic damage, carve outs, ACV roof endorsements. I'm sure you've seen some of this stuff.
Yes. And so we are a mix, and I don't have n an exact number of what we want to be, uh, because and I'm not saying this in any way judgmentally towards anybody else, but the manner with which we go about whether something is moving insurance or whether something is moving towards retail with a customer is 100% based upon the situation. And so we are in that somewhere 40 60 60 40 range between retail and insurance, but we try to assess the situation, and we try to be a true partner for the customer. And so we're certainly not storm chasing. We don't leave, generally speaking, Southwest Ohio, and we'll get maybe a little bit towards Central Ohio. If a customer has a need for a roof, we're first going to assess, is this a potential insurance claim? And I guess the way that we look at that is we try to I we talk about this all the time. How would you want this done if this was your mom? So we try not to be trigger happy on, like, "Oh, let's file a claim. Let's file a claim. Let's file a claim." That's not our go-to. our go-to is let's inspect the roof and let's see what is actually the situation up there, because I would not want somebody trying to get my mom to file a claim if there's not legitimate storm damage.
When I'm out conducting inspections and I tell my clients, I mean, I always am transparent, maybe because I actually started roofing sales. And at one point it was all about let's get the claim into the system, let's get going. But then I soon realized that there's the insurance restoration business, it's very complex. There's a lot of moving parts. And, years down the road, if I don't see a policyholder them worth filing a claim, then I won't recommend it. It's as simple as that. That's actually great that you assess the situation. If you don't see a viable option to pursue a claim, you don't do it. That's great.
Yeah. And the few exceptions that would ever come up is really if it was a situation where the homeowner's like pounding the table, I want to file a claim, then we do a little bit of like, I just want to make sure that you're aware that our assessment doesn't, does not look good for that, but we will
Right.
do
I mean,
however
you're
you
being
want.
completely transparent with them that it's probably going to get denied.
Right, but at the same time, we're not up there trying to file a claim because that's not the right thing. Because I don't know the exact laws on this stuff, but but if you're filing claims for no reason, that's not good for the homeowner. I am confident that if you file a bunch of crap claims, that homeowner they do have a chance that their numbers are going to go up. I don't know the legality of all that stuff, but don't really care. It's like just what is the right thing to do? And so if we're sitting there looking at this and it's like, look, there was a hailstorm on this date and there's clear hail damage. Here we go. Or there was major wind on this date and we're seeing lifted shingles, shingles are missing, things along those lines that would say, hey, this should go that route, then we'll take it that route. And I do think that is the best thing for the homeowner. If they have insurance, and we try to get even further in depth with that and have those conversations even further in depth. But if that's why you pay for the insurance, and with a big ticket item like a roof, if we go on and we're saying we see damage on every slope, this appears that it would be storm related damage. There is a storm date that falls within the time frame.
The
Then
1 year
this
statute typically.
yeah, and some of them shortened it up to 6 months. I anticipate it being 6 days at some point in time, but yeah, like, if that's the right route, then that's the right route, and that's the route we're gonna go. If there's not, then that's not our recommendation. We're gonna say, we don't yet if they need a new roof, then we don't think this is an insurance claim. But with all that being said, even if we think it is an insurance claim, we try to dig further into it. And meaning we try to get further information of before filing the claim, like is this an ACV policy or an RCV policy? Which the way that we'll talk about that with a homeowner is like an RCV, it's going to replace it for what they're essentially going to pay for a new roof. If it's an ACV policy, we put it more into like talking about like a car insurance policy. Like if you buy this Lamborghini, I don't know how much they cost because I don't have one, but if you bought it for $100,000 and 10 years later you total it, they're not giving you a check for 100 anymore. They're gonna give you a check for what it was worth at that time, and so if it's an ACV policy and we were up on that roof and we're like, hard for us to say exactly the year, but daggone, this looks 25 plus years old,
They're
it
going to
doesn't
depreciate the
make
hell out of
sense.
that
Yeah,
settlement.
like,
Yeah, it's not worth
your
it.
your ACV check's gonna be next to nothing versus if it's like, "Hey, this is 4 years old and this was a legitimate, that your roof is shot because of a storm." Now the ACV like, "Hey, that's covering most of it. This is probably worth us going down that path." We talk about deductibles and trying to find out what those deductibles are, and and then again, all we do is present the information and say, "Hey, well, here's the direction that we would recommend, but this is the information that you have, and we are happy to move forward with the direction that you would like to go." And we put the ball in their court, but we do make a strong recommendation based upon just what we see, but we obviously don't know the life circumstances of 100% of our clients as we're we're doing the inspection.
Right on. What, Mark, when you are meeting these insurance adjusters out at the property, I mean, I don't know how much maybe you have your team. I mean, are you out? Like, are you out in the field meeting with these guys sometimes when a storm comes through or?
At times, our individual sales guys, we don't have somebody individually assigned to go out to all of the adjuster meetings. The individual project consultant for that job is the one that will typically go out and meet that adjuster. And we obviously go to all of those meetings because we want to be an advocate for the homeowner. That's really our role. And we try to take as much of the legwork away from the homeowner. So we try to be listed as the contractor for the job so that we can try to do as much of the communication for them as possible to make it easy for them. We'll go to the adjuster meetings and we just like to point out what we saw, and look at it really as like two professionals looking at it together. No different than if you and I went out there to look at a roof, be like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And
Right.
that's how we want it to be. We don't want it to be an adversarial. I mean, like that doesn't work for anybody. It's like, "Hey, did you notice this over here?" We try to have it be a working together situation when the individual comes out to do the examination for the insurance company. And so we try to just point out the areas that we saw. This is what we were thinking. How do you see it? Do you see it any different? And have it be working together on that of there's something and that is storm related and why we thought it was, but not necessarily, trying to strong arm anybody or anything like that. We're just trying to point out the things that we saw, um, and to be an advocate for that homeowner because they are not, just like I don't know anything about a car. You lift the hood up and I'm like, yep, the engine's in there. Like I wouldn't know the darndest thing about it. And but if this was like, hey, we're doing something with insurance for my car, I would want my mechanic to
Your
be the one
mechanic to look
like,
at it?
"Hey, this is what I'm seeing because I don't know squat about it." So that's how we see our role of just making sure that the right things are being pointed out, that, in a friendly way, making sure that they're seeing all the things that we saw, and then they're gonna make their opinion from there. And generally speaking, I'd say that the adjusters that we deal with are great. They really are. You have the occasional one where you're like, shaking your head going, "Man, like, I
I was
don't."
just gonna say you gotta read the room too, man. I mean, some of these guys are not gonna reciprocate. For
That's right,
sure.
yeah, exactly, like, some of them want nothing to do with you, and some of them, it's like they're coming in, don't wanna talk to you, and
Yeah,
"I have the answers," like, that's fine, then let them do their deal.
right.
Um, but in the same regard, most are very friendly and work well with you. It's the occasional one that you just are shaking your head going, "I don't understand." This is very clearly, from a 1 to 100 scale, this is a 99% chance that this thing was the storm related and like this should be a roof. Those occasional ones will again, we'll still advocate for the homeowner and try to get a second opinion and things along those lines. But most of the time, I would say that the individuals that we're running into, not too far off from our assessment.
That's great to hear, man. Let's talk about the current state. What's working? What's frustrating? What would you say is working well for you guys right now operationally? And what's the most frustrating part right now? With respect to metrics, what are you focused on uh most improving for 2026?
Yeah, so great question. What's most frustrating this is very circumstantial is the foot of snow that's
Right.
on every roof right now.
Sure,
Uh,
sure.
this is we had a historic snowfall here in the last couple weeks where it was the most since 1976,
Good
and so
lord.
you're like, "That's gracious," in this area, it was the most amount of snowfall in a day since then. I mean, it was daggone 50 years. I'm trying to get some things internally a little bit sharper as far as some key performance things that we look at on a daily basis, both from a sales and a marketing standpoint that I'm trying to sharpen up. But those are just more internal things that are less involved with external. some of the external things that we're always trying to sharpen up is our customer journey. And that's something that we're very much looking into right now, as far as looking at from the moment a customer calls in, and all the different ways that a customer can reach out to us, and what does their journey look like from that point to the end state of them being completed, and how can we make this a friendlier situation for them. And so that's something that we're trying to sharpen up, as far as what's our communication, from that initial phone call until we are completely done with them with their project, or wherever it ends along the lines, and trying to refine how much we're communicating, trying to hit the kind of like the sweet spot of what's too much, what's too little, and things along those lines. But that's something that we really pride ourselves in, is wanting to have elite customer experience with us. And so that's something that we're constantly monitoring and trying to sharpen up to make sure that we're kind of hitting the nail on the head with, this is the right amount of communication. This is what we need to communicate, um, to make sure that they are, feeling that they're well taken care of, and that they're also prepped for everything. Things like, I know it's doesn't seem like the biggest thing in the world, but like this is a major construction project, and all the little small things that they need to know about prior to us starting that. It's important that they're aware of those things, that so that they're not taken off guard by something, or that wasn't communicated very well, things along those lines. That's what we're trying to do. And we also have been passing our communication when we go from one department to the other. When it goes into production, now all of our communication, once it goes into production, is being handled by production, because they're the best group to be able to update upon the situation. Where's material at? What's the timing of the job and things like that. And we're trying to make sure that, as I call it, the passing of the baton, that nothing drops when we pass the baton from the project consultant to when it actually gets into production, and that the same standard, this is our standard of communication, that the same standard is in production as is with our project consultants as far as communication is concerned, so that the homeowner doesn't feel like, oh, well, when I went to production, the ball was dropped, I wasn't communicated with well, or vice versa.
Excellent. Let's talk about some technology innovation stuff. What type of technology are you guys using in your business right now? And any new estimation software? Are you guys using drone imagery or anything like that? What any AI automation are you guys working on?
Yes, great question. And that was one of the things that, the winter project. So,
Okay.
yeah, to go. So, I mean, we've got our basic stuff. I mean, we use Job Nimbus for our, CRM. That's really important for us to be able to continue to, hold the standard that we have for communication. Just because it puts it in one central database, easy for everybody to see and to read and to communicate, particularly if we're going from project consultant to production and things along those lines. And we're using a variety of different, softwares as far as measuring tools and things along those lines. We have been looking into and plan on adding this to our mix. I know Eagle View's got a drone that, and we're planning on moving forward with that, where it helps to identify areas that either have damaged roof from hail, or potentially lifted shingles, things along those lines. But it also does the drawing as well. The lack of roofs that we're getting on right now, it doesn't make sense for us to
Yeah, there'd be no reason to pull the
that.
trigger right now on that.
Yeah, yeah. Let's just pay to have it collect dust over the next month. Once we hit the spring season, we're going to move into that, because I think that that's going to help us, A, from a measurement standpoint, but B, from, um, I think it's going to help us make sure that we don't miss any spots. I think that that's from the individual that's getting on the roof to do that inspection. It will help identify, oh, make sure you check this area, or make sure you check that area. We're going to continue to do our normal inspection. We're not going to utilize the drone as the only source of our inspection, outside of, a high roof with, we're 12-12 or greater, that might be a situation where we would quite heavily upon the drone. But I do think that not just a regular drone, but the one that has that imagery on there. I know some people are looking into some of the thermal ones and or are utilizing that as well. And I think that can help with, where's heat escaping and things along those lines that I think are beneficial. But we are gonna go with the Eagle View version of it, and I don't remember what it's called. Some AI stuff, with some of the stuff that I was talking about internally as far as KPIs, we are trying to look into, but I think AI right now is such a hot topic. Everybody just like, "Oh, yeah, it's AI." The automation stuff as far as, getting our data from our CRM and from other sources to put all into a dashboard to make those numbers easier to read and to get accurate, up-to-date snapshots of how we're doing from a marketing standpoint, how we're doing from our project consultant standpoint as well. So I don't know if that's exactly AI or just automation, or maybe it's all one and the same, but we are looking into that right now because we're trying to the next step for us in that is to create dashboards as opposed to doing it on a monthly basis and tallying things up and bean counting it essentially is how we will do things a lot of times right now. And that can be pretty cumbersome to get the information that you want. We're trying to get all of that information automated into one area so that we can click a couple buttons and see up to date information immediately.
It's actually something I wanted to end with. Couple other things, Mark. I won't keep you too long today. I would say talk about team and scaling. Finding good people in the roofing industry can be pretty difficult. How do you finding good crews and salespeople? I mean, that probably takes years to develop to be able to get to that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And yes, and I'll say this, I think that people's the key, right? I mean, you look at that and at the end of the day, I think that the right people in the right seats is key. And I think that that goes back to kind of the start of the conversation as far as leadership is concerned and um regarding having great people that are trustworthy, that you believe in, and surrounding yourself with those people, I think that's the key to an organization. And, I know people talk about culture a lot, and it's important to me that we are creating a culture that people want to be a part of and that they want to stay. And interesting that we've hired here recently some people that were coming from a different roofing company, and they had some difficulty in the transition because some of their pay was tied up, and it was almost like they talk about with corporate America, the golden handcuffs of trying to handcuff you in, like they make it too good for you to want to leave. Similarly, if someone's leaving from one company to go to another, I think that there's ways that people can try to tie that up and essentially hold someone hostage. And we actually take a polar opposite approach where I want it to be the other way, where it's like, hey, this is a seamless if you wanna go someplace else, you think the grass is greener over there, I don't wanna hold you hostage. I don't wanna keep you here because you're afraid to lose out on XYZ. We try to make it very simple and easy for someone to be able to do that, but more so create the environment here that why in God's green earth would you?
But I think
It
some of those guys, they make that transition. They come into a new business opportunity with some bad habits, perhaps, and the ability to walk into a new environment, such as your environment here. Those bad habits tend to go away because they see that it opens their mind to a bigger and better opportunity. So that's awesome. That
Yeah. And you're right, and I mean, some of the habits made I try not to say, "Hey, bad," because it was different, you know what I mean? Like, because it could be a fantastic habit where they came from, but if
yeah.
it's not here, you're right, like, that would be a bad habit here, and so you're right, because if you have somebody that has experience in the industry and they've done it a certain way for a certain amount of time, and that was A plus over there, But if we just do it differently here, and some people are great at adapting and adjusting, and then others are not. And they very much, want to put their hands up and well, I've done it this way and this is what works. It's like that's great, but this is how we do things here.
Right.
And so, you're right, retraining some of that stuff, or I guess I would say, establishing a different, expectation, and then holding someone accountable to meet that. There's some people that they adjust and adapt quickly and willingly, and then others that won't. And that's certainly if we're bringing someone from within the industry, but from someplace else, that's certainly something that is important to me because I want to make sure that it's like this is a fit over here in how we do things. And listen, I like to take in thoughts. Hey, there's a better way I want to do it, but if this is the way that we're doing it, then you need to adjust and adapt to how we do it because it has to fit how we want things done here, not what if it's been done differently someplace else, yes, but this is how we like to do it, so it needs to fit us because we really want our brand to be the same regardless of whoever a client would interact with. We want it to all kind of fit within the say like that they would say, yes, that person and this person, they don't have to be the same, but there was an overall something behind it that was uniform between all of them.
I got you. I mean, you seem like the type of company owner that would potentially, if new hires come in and they do have a good idea or maybe a suggestion, you would be open to it. Not to say that you would like them to, well, to say for them to stand by your company's way, but you would be open to a good idea. I mean, who wouldn't?
Absolutely. Hey, listen, if there's a better way of doing it, and there is. There always is. And, I'm 48 years old now, getting older. And when I was 25, I thought there was one way. It's like, this is the only thing. Everything else stinks. It's all terrible. And humble pie got handed to me in boatloads at times. And I learned that, hey, you know what? What I thought was the only and best way, A, it wasn't the only way. And B, it wasn't the best way, and I learned a ton. I went from I knew it all, just ask me, to goodness, do I know anything? And you learn from others. And so I'm always when there's somebody coming and if they've got experience elsewhere, I'm always wanting to hear. And I always say this, like, hey, listen, don't take offense. I want to hear ideas, but please don't take offense if it's like, hey, that just doesn't fit. It doesn't mean it's not good. Doesn't mean it's not better, but maybe it just doesn't fit the rest of what we're about or the rest of
Yeah.
our process or whatever it might be. So I'm very open to improving things and I want to hear new ideas, but it also has to fit the whole
The
big
big
picture,
picture.
just the one-off idea and so forth. And so, yeah, I am very much open to that, but I do think that we have a core that we have at the center of it all, that it has to fit into what we believe in from a big picture standpoint.
All right, my friend. Thank you for being here. This was great insight. I appreciate you sharing, man.
Yes, sir.
You have a
Like,
stay warm and you have yourself a great week.
thanks, Josh.